watching HALENVILLE Live with Fruitcake Tony. Woo!
All righty, and we are live. Yes, we are. What's happening? It's Tuesday, fellas.
Yeah. It's Tuesday. It's cold. It's snowy. It's just the way I like it.
Good gosh, it is cold. It's still January.
January is the longest month of the year. I don't care if it has 31 days.
Other side, I know it's cold.
Feels like it's 6-7 weeks long. Ooh,
you messed up your camera.
Good to see you guys. Charles Greene, Ed DeBrill, Brendan B. Squared. What is up, fellas?
Apparently I'm blurred.
What's going on, everybody? Right on.
Hey.
Good to see everyone.
What's going on?
Yeah, so
there it goes.
Hope things are going well for you. We are in the middle of January 16, 2024. And as you all know, this book came out on January 1st. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yo, Macho Man wanted to read that book. Would have, but,
yeah.
You know.
Right on. So,
yeah, man.
I'm sure all of you have this book already.
You should have it and be done with it already. You know, reading it for a second time because it's the 16th. It came out on the 1st, right?
At least.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a must-have book.
Hell's yeah.
Period.
Add it to the Van Halen library.
Yep.
Finally, a book about David Lee Roth and only David Lee Roth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Boom. And it is brilliant.
It is. And the title is true. He indeed changed the world, without a doubt.
Yeah.
You
know.
Without a doubt.
This, you know, New Year's came and we're busy during New Year's and around here too. And I told these guys that I hadn't ordered the David Lee Roth book, the new David Lee Roth. And it got here in a hurry. You can get it on the Van Halen store. Yeah, it got here in a hurry. It did.
Would you get it 2 days?
2 days, dude.
Yeah, nice.
You can get it immediately available on ebook, by the way. It's available on ebook.
Cool.
Yeah, you could buy it there. That's right.
I like a physical copy, man. I like to hold it.
Yeah, me too.
I don't believe there's an audio copy, but I'm going to find out.
I don't think that there's a format for it. I think it's Kindle and physical book, I believe. But we can find out. We know a guy. We might be able to find out.
All right. So we have the author of this cool book with us tonight. Yeah. Tonight we do.
He's in the green room eating all the M&Ms.
We're going to meet him. And we're going to talk all about this book.
Get your feet off the table.
Yeah. And we can't say enough about this book.
Nope.
But we will. We're biting our tongue.
More than enough. Yeah.
First things first, let's open up chat B and see who's here.
There's a few people.
Yeah, a little bit.
A bit.
All right. Boom. All right.
You
Starting at the bottom.
What you got?
I am. There's Christopher Live Soba. What's up, dude?
There he is. What's up, Chris?
Metalworks in the house. What's up, dude?
Hit metal. Right on, brother.
Guitar Man 45.
All right.
What is
See
up,
you, brother.
bro?
Right on, man.
There's Lewis.
Right on, Lewis. Good to see you,
Lewis.
Man. Yeah, Lewis. What's up?
It's a different Lewis.
All right. There's Polly Walnuts. What's up, Polly?
Walnuts.
Right on, Polly.
Just talking about you, buddy.
Yeah, we're talking about you and your new
and
tattoo.
Yeah. Tattoo.
Sorry.
Tattoo.
Yeah,
tattoo,
there's
as
Charles
they say down under.
75 in.
All right.
Good to see you, Charles. Right on, man.
I heard that guy makes guitars.
He might be making one for somebody here.
Yeah, maybe.
He does really good work, guys. Let me tell you what.
Down in Area 51, wherever he is.
Coming up. Stay tuned.
Dude, I can't wait
to
Good
see that.
to see Charles. Let's see. There is our Van Halen bro, R2, R3.
Right on, R2.
R2, what's up, brother?
Yeah.
You going to win trivia tonight?
Boner Jam's in the house. What's up,
Boner?
Good to see you.
Right on, man.
Right on.
It seems weird saying "What's up, Boner," but I still say it.
Well, we all say it in our head.
It's odd. It's odd.
You just say
I'm
it
gonna
out loud.
scroll all the way back down. If you're just joining, say hello in the chat. It's Tuesday.
I think Ron Allard Jr. just showed up.
David Lee Roth book.
Right on.
Ronald, what's up?
Good to see you, Ronald. Right on, brother.
Ronald is here. What's up, Mr. Allard?
Hey, Ronald.
Good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you. All right, so
whoever else comes in.
We're going to break also tonight at some point later on to go to the fridge. You need more ice in the tea, or you might need more tea. But so while we're doing that, we're going to stretch our legs and do trivia for David Lee Roth past 1986. Eaton Smile backstage.
My favorite one right there.
I won one of those back when I was in the chat.
Oh.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
There's Quentin James. What's up?
Quentin, what's up?
Quentin.
Right on, Quentin. Bam, right there, brother.
All righty. Let's bring in our special guest. He's an author. He's a podcaster, the DLR cast. Let's bring him in. There he is.
All right, Darren.
Paltrowitz.
Right on, man.
Thank you for having me, and thanks for all these kind words.
Welcome to Halenville. Right on, brother.
Glad to be here.
Welcome, Darren. Good to see you.
Yeah,
glad to
meet
nothing
you.
but
Glad you could make it. Glad you could make it to the show. Fantastic.
Sorry.
And can I compete for that backstage pass, or I'm disqualified?
You're DQ'd.
Yeah.
I just want to say, if all of us have to be disqualified, Darren, you're screwed, brother. That's the way it is.
Yeah.
Let's change the view.
But
How
then
about
you,
that?
Yeah, perfect.
You talk to Dave.
Minimizing me is also fine. Your call, man.
There we go. So, Darren, welcome. I must say, I very, very much enjoyed reading this book. I was excited about it when I heard about it, excited about getting it. From start to the end, it is brilliant. It is. I'm a huge David Lee Roth fan, huge Dave fan, and this book was wonderful. It was such a joy to read about Dave from start to finish. I mean, his early life all the way to what he's up to now, and absolutely everybody. There is not a character in the David Lee Roth universe. No stone is unturned here.
Thank you. Honestly, there's another 50 people I could have spoken to for the book, but I don't think anyone would have read that many words or that many chapters. So I think I did you all a service by stopping at 100 something interviews.
You could always have a part 2, eventually.
Never say never.
Right? Everything's open. But
if you're watching and you're wondering, you can get this book in the Van Halen store. So go over there and yeah. So how did this book happen, Darren?
I have my own show besides the DLR cast with Steve Roth, and it's called the Paltrowcast with Darren Paltrowitz. And I've been taping interviews for years. And jokingly, I was throwing in questions, Howard Stern style, where you just ask a question or two that are not connected to really promoting the new album or whatever the person's talking about. And I was for a while throwing in, so who's the greatest Van Halen frontman, Sammy or Dave, that kind of stuff. And around the same time that I was doing a lot of that, I wound up interviewing Billy Sheehan and Steve Vai and a lot of different people related to Dave. So it kind of hit me when I had a lot of time during the pandemic of, wait, I have enough interviews with Roth related people. Maybe there's a book here. And I pitched it to every literary agent I could find. And all it takes is one literary agent going, I know this can sell. I know how to sell this. And he sold it. And then you have to write it. So actually writing a book is less than 20% writing a book. There's so many damn factors to it beyond the sitting down and writing the chapters. But that's the short version of what happened.
That's cool. That's cool.
Right on.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you've written 3 books?
This is book number 3. It's not really connected to the 2 prior books that I did. Okay. And this one is out through Roman and Littlefield and Backbeat Books and available everywhere. Probably the hardest project I've ever worked on because I write articles just about every single day. But in the time that it takes to write a book, I could write hundreds of articles. It's just a massive undertaking to do that. And this is book number 3. Hopefully not the last one.
Interesting that you said that you write a lot of articles. One of the first things I noticed, you give a lot of information in a very small paragraph over and over and over again. And it's not hard to absorb, but I had mentioned this in the green room for a second, but we'll give you a quick shout out on this. This book enhances, this is HALENVILLE. We're in a Halen crowd. We've all read everything. We've heard it. We've seen it. We've worked it because we're interested in it. This is not a repeat. This is an enhancement of stories and the legacy that we all hold dear.
Thank you.
You have seriously done something unique in our world, and we want to shout that out to you first and foremost. This book is quite special. And we'll go over a lot of reasons why as we peel it apart. It's very cool, man. It's very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. And to, about the articles part, if you're not a great writer, but you have to write articles, you do it enough times so that you eventually find your voice. And the voice of my writing, people are going to love it or hate it because it sounds exactly like I talk. I don't try and make myself sound smarter when I write. It's the same stuff. If I use the word vernacular, that's not how I speak. The words that you're hearing now could be transcribed and be in the book. And a lot of academics hate that. But I think the Van Halen audience likes that. It's kind of in sync with Van Halen, where it's intelligent people pretending to be really dumb. That's how I kind of sum up Van Halen. There's that line in there that Van Halen sounds like a dog wearing sunglasses. That's the voice I was trying to give instead of this, talking about vibrato and stuff like that.
And you definitely have it because that's the thing. You want kind of like the back room or backstage or whatever, waiting for the headliner to go on. So you're talking through as you put it, the t-shirt band, so you're going to talk through those guys. And that's the way you're talking. Yeah. Remember this? What about that? Like this, like that. I love it. I thought it was brilliant. And I did want to say too, I like the fact that you enjoy wrestling. I picked that up too. And cool that the forward is written by Diamond Dallas Page, because he's great. And so did you, because you like wrestling so much, I assume you do.
Yes.
Do you feel like Roth could be like, he's like that guy that does like the trash talking and stuff, and that he's that character, he's that guy, so he kind of fits right in with the persona, and I think you captured that most definitely.
But shout out to you, because you mentioned Randy Savage in the intro to the show. And today they announced a biography on Randy coming out in either March or April through ECW Press. And
nice.
Randy, one of his greatest rivalries was against Diamond Dallas Page in the late 90s. So small world right there. And
it really is.
I'm a big fan of wrestling, not for the wrestling itself. I can't watch a match if it's more than 5 minutes long. I get super bored. But when you learn about the personalities of the men and women and whatever you want to classify the gender, I don't know. But when you learn about the people behind the characters, and you think of wrestling as a dance between two people where one person's leading it, and you really think the smart stuff about something dumb like wrestling, because it's all made up in the sense that it's a choreographed yet improvised piece of theater in the middle of an arena or a bingo hall or a VFW hall that's meant to capture everyone's imagination. And it is supposed to capture good versus evil. And you're supposed to know who's the good guy and who's the bad guy without anyone saying that. It's a non-spoken universal language like music. And Dave is that. You can just look at a photo of Dave, of him doing, one of his open mouth poses, and just go, I know what this band sounds like just looking at that. And I see a lot of superstar Billy Graham in Dave. I see a lot of early wrestling influence in him. And every now and then he lets out a wrestling reference, but doesn't want you to know he's a wrestling fan. It's one of those kinds of things.
Yeah. Oh, he could have totally been in there, like, with Superfly or even Hulk Hogan. I mean, he's definitely got that flair, and I didn't mean that for Ric Flair. I just meant flair
too.
But yeah, I mean, I grew up with wrestling as well, so it's, and I see it, and that's, again, like I said before, that's what I got. You can see that you're pulling that out of Dave, which is awesome, and it's a totally different view, and I think it's great.
Thank you. And Andy Carson in the chat just did the look at all the people.
Oh yeah.
Tonight.
That's true.
My wife inspired me to make a look at all the people here tonight compilation, which I put up on YouTube.
Oh, nice.
It never gets old to me.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
So, Darren, do you find that you really? I find that you really dig deep. And obviously with interviewing people and trying to find to get the stories out, is that because of your profession as well?
It definitely ties in. I'm a licensed private investigator, although it's entirely on the side, but I use that skill set to track people down legally, ethically, of course. But also, the book has a lot of reliance on documents, government documents, public records, that kind of stuff. So that's how I found out more about Dave being an EMT and Dave being a licensed helicopter pilot and Dave leaving this Van Halen Corporation starring Diamond Dave Productions, and Dave and Sammy secretly having Hagar Roth Touring Incorporated, which people don't talk about very much.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was the kind of stuff that I learned by being a PI, that you have to get to the source. You really have to have a source. You can't just rely on hearsay or rumors, because so many people related to Dave are under non-disclosures, Van Halen too. So sometimes the facts come from talking to people who go on the record. Sometimes it's off the record. Sometimes I see that, Quentin. That's awesome. Sometimes it's the public records, the government records. Sometimes it's all those things. And sometimes it was archival interviews. Like whenever Dave went on Howard Stern, Howard got a great interview out of Dave, whereas every other interview, basically the interviewer gets steamrolled by Dave, including mine in the first chapter. I get totally steamrolled.
That's Dave. That's his personality, right?
Except if he's on Howard, otherwise he's steamrolling the interviewer.
Right. I mean, he basically took Howard's spot when Howard went to Sirius, for whatever couple months. I was a big Opie and Anthony fan.
Oh yeah.
And so
Me too.
those guys always talked about it. Was great, so we saw that iteration. I think we've all seen every iteration of Dave up to this point. And I mean, I hope he has more. I hope he has more iterations and more stuff to go on, but yeah. It's great.
If not, you got a burger stand theme song a week ago on YouTube. So be thankful if that's what Dave is giving you. Burger stand theme song.
I'll take anything.
Yeah.
It's all good.
We dig his stuff.
It's all good.
He's retired.
Yeah.
He's not retired.
I was going to say,
this is the only book. We read a lot of Van Halen books around here. This is the only David Lee Roth book, other than Crazy from the Heat, and it is. Oh man, it starts in his early life, and it is so much insight to every stage of his life and career. And
thank you.
Yeah, there's no stone unturned, and a bunch of cool stuff. And all of us learned stuff. We dig the stuff that we never knew when new books arrive. And this was no exception.
Thanks. It was, as I said earlier, the hardest project I've ever worked on, because a lot of people related to Dave don't want to be found, or they moved on from their life, or that portion of their life, or they don't remember. So you have to track down the other person who might remember, or you have to listen to old interviews. One of the first interviews that I did, once I knew it was a book and not just a self-published collection, was Dave Jellison, who was the first or second bassist in Rat. He worked with Van Halen as a roadie and continued with Dave as a solo artist. And Dave knew everything, and we don't see him mentioned in any books. So he was one of my sources where if something happened in, say, 1985, I'd go, Dave Jellison, did this happen, yes or no? Yeah. And the book ultimately became this happened in 2003. Who was around? Okay, Doug Short, the tour manager, who we lost a couple of months ago. But Doug was there. So you'd go 2003, go to Doug. 2010, okay, go to this person. And it's all these different Dave experts from different eras that really helped make it happen.
Yeah. So I noticed that Dave is quite a bit in the book. I mean, he obviously knows a lot as well. So what's the story with the contradiction of the South American tour between him and Noel Monk?
Good. Thank you for reading it. Yes.
Yeah.
Noel's book, according to Dave Jellison, other people that I've spoken with, Noel is talking about the South American tour as being the band firing on all cylinders, that everything was hunky-dory and amazing, and this was the peak of the band. And Dave Jellison, I don't remember how much of this I put in the book. So I'm just going to say allegedly 4 times so no one gets sued. So allegedly.
Okay.
Right.
Allegedly, the kinds of drugs that Van Halen liked were not readily available in that part of the world at that time. So allegedly, a member had to fly in their personal drug dealer. Then the exchange rate was really low. There was a lot of cocaine around. There was a lot of girlfriend stuff going on. And there was a lot of ego stuff going on. So everyone was fighting because of that. Then there were security problems. You could see the Brazil show on YouTube in excellent quality. And I don't remember if more than 1 or 2 fans get on stage there, but there was a particular show where people did throw chairs and there was a riot, and Ed Anderson really had to clear house, but it's not super documented. But again, you read Noel Monk's book, and everything was great in South America.
Yeah.
Wow.
We all watched those on YouTube.
Yeah.
Those South America. One of those is just awesome too.
Sam Powell.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that was on stage. Yeah.
And there's a lot of fans in Latin America because of Dave's release of, what was it, Eat 'Em and Smile in Spanish?
Sonrisa Salvaje, it never gets old to me.
I can't pronounce it.
It never gets old. It's one of my tricks of, if I see a jukebox, one of the brands like Rockola that have the digital jukebox, I look to see if they have Eat 'Em and Smile. Then do they have Eat 'Em and Smile in Spanish? And the wife and I last year were in El Paso. We walked across the border to Juarez, and I saw the digital jukebox, but I couldn't get it to play with my app. In other words, it was a different U.S. app from the Mexico-based app, but I was going to play a Sonrisa Salvaje song in Juarez, and
That's awesome.
one of my tricks. I played No Big Ting on jukeboxes.
Really?
That clears the bar out.
Does it translate well though? How do Spanish people do they say, "Hey, this guy is really good. He's fluent."
I've heard people say that Dave is great at Spanish.
Nice to see you dudes.
And if you think about it, singers are generally great with accents and languages. It makes sense because it's all hearing, repeating, immersion kind of stuff. And he's a smart guy. So I've heard that he's generally great at Spanish, but maybe some of the translating might have been a little off. With Japanese, I've heard that he's incredible, and I've heard he's terrible. Eddie kind of buried his Japanese in something, but people that I spoke with said, in Japan, said, "Oh no, he's good."
Oh wow!
So sometimes I don't know what the story is.
Well, he's well traveled, so I mean,
That's for sure.
Very well traveled.
He's a Renaissance man.
Right.
You know, part of the problem that you had writing a book about David Lee Roth is day after day for the last 40 flipping years, he makes history over and over and over. And so your task is quite undaunting, to be honest. To be accurate and to give us the quality that you've given here took a lot of effort and a lot of work, my man.
Thank you. It was a massive undertaking, but ultimately it coming out, I could start to celebrate a little bit. But I was definitely going a little nuts writing it.
We love this book, but it makes me want to ask you, Darren, you're obviously a big Van Halen fan. You are a big Dave fan too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there are not a whole lot of us, I think.
Of Dave fans, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I could tell you why that is, but I agree. But go on.
Yeah, no. Why is that?
I think that Dave needs an editor or a co-pilot or somebody to refine his ideas. Otherwise, it's too much Dave. So if you look at the periods when Dave was firing in all cylinders, everything was great. It's when he had Pete Angelus, and it's when he had Matt Sensio. And so there's these stretches of, 5 to 8 years where he could do almost no wrong. There's no embarrassing videos out there. There's no scandals. He's batting 1,000, publicly speaking. And then you have the eras where he decides he doesn't need a manager, or his manager just should be an assistant. And that's when you get things like him knocking on the door of a Vegas hotel room and somebody who has no idea who he is.
He's a bachelor party.
You have things like that, and you hear the person standing next to him go, "Oh, they love that, Dave. That was great." And you go, no.
No.
Bad idea, Dave. And so you look at some of he's producing excellent content these days between the paintings, the dance videos, all that kind of stuff. but then there's no game plan behind how they release it and how they promote it. So if we go back to a couple of months ago when he started ramping up the Van Halen re-records again, some of those have been deleted since then. A different kind of truth. Taken off streaming services.
Gone, yeah.
DLR band, not on streaming services. So at a certain point you go, is there a strategy or did they just forget? You don't know.
I think choice B. I don't want to say, but yeah, you know,
I've proof to say they forgot and/or there's weirdness happening. But you know, I took the very positive approach for this book. I didn't put the scandalous stuff in. I mostly wanted it to be a tribute to Dave and how he changed everything.
I mean, it's good because most people that know about him or read about him know the scandals. You know, I mean, you've seen the interviews, you've seen like with Steve Vai, with John Five. You know, the stories that are told in the hallway. Some Dave or somebody's doing a handstand, walking down. You know, the towels are falling off, and you know, you hear all this other stuff. It's like, oh my god.
There is actually another side. Dave can shut off Diamond David Lee Roth when he wants to.
Oh, most people I speak to, they never see him as Diamond Dave ever. Period. It's the exact
book, you get to know him. You really get to know Dave in this book, and thank you for that.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
so yeah.
You have to say nothing but yeah.
That's right. There you go. Oh, man.
So I assume you've interviewed Brian Young.
I had Brian Young on just my podcast, and then I repurposed it for the DLR cast like 2 to 3 years ago. And Brian is one of those people where I learned more after the interview about him than I knew during the interview. Because my tone with him during the interview is like, oh, and that must have been so great playing with Dave, and honor, you know, that kind of thing. And then I learned after the fact that Brian was in and out of the picture a few times after that for Dave. And Brian knows where the bodies are buried, to say it nicely.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was telling us stories about the Sam and Dave tour, and we were like, whoa, really? Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, he opened up for us in the green room. He gave us a real moment. That was extra special, by the way. Yes.
This might sound blasphemy to say, because everyone's supposed to say the best David Lee Roth backing band ever is Bissonette, Sheen, and Tuggle. You're supposed to say that. But the Brian Young, Ray Luzier, James Lomenzo, although is kind of a revolving door bass player, that's become my favorite backing band of Dave. I think that Brian was maybe the last guitarist he had who was an original yet able to do the Eddie thing.
Yeah.
He also is the only other man to share the stage with David Lee Roth as long as Edward Van. Not as long, but almost as long as Edward Van Halen.
And longer than most people realize. You know,
yes.
There's rumors. You would have to ask Brian this. There's rumors that he was on retainer during the first Van Halen reunion tour. Have you heard those?
He was talking about that, and he was talking about how long Dave kept him on retainer after the fact. I believe it was almost 3 years after they had stopped the DLR thing. He was still on retainer, and finally one day he got a call. He told us about that.
Yeah.
But
there were rumors he was on retainer because Eddie was not in a great place on that first Van Halen reunion tour. There were rumors that Brian might need to step in for Eddie at a show or two.
Oh.
And that's one of the reasons why he was on retainer.
Now you can answer this question for us, Darren. I believe I know the answer, but I want you to confirm it. No one ever filled in for Edward Van Halen ever on a live show, did they? Ever?
Well,
who could have the balls to do it? I mean, I've never heard of it, and I just would like you to confirm that.
I've never heard of such a thing.
Never have either.
Offstage keyboard playing, then people have filled in for Eddie.
Yeah. No one ever stepped on a guitar and walked on and played with Van Halen in place of Edward is what I'm trying to say.
In place of no, but I mean Leslie West, didn't he have a show or two where he came on stage in the Van Hagar era?
I think so. At least one, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
What I loved about this book, it is totally David Lee Roth from top to bottom. And if you're just joining, you can get this book at the Van Halen store. It is the timeline. It goes through absolutely every era of his life, on stage, backstage, personal life, what he was doing all along the way. And it's written magnificently like that. You start at his youth and you end up now, and there's no name in the Van Halen or in the David Lee Roth universe that is unturned. It's all there. And on each era, there's insight. You've gotten in more insight than I could ever imagine.
Thank you.
You know, from many people. And this book is a tribute to Dave. If I'm Dave, I would be so proud of this book, you know. And I'm sure you'll be hearing from him.
I'm sure I will not be hearing from him.
You'll not be hearing from him.
I will not be hearing from Dave because I reached out to them multiple times for participation. And by that, I mean, I didn't want him to write the book with me. I just said to them, if you want to read the book and correct anything that's incorrect in here and go, Darren, you're wrong, you can. Here it is. Yeah. And never heard a peep back on any of my reach outs. And so do you want to hear this? And I don't think I've said this on podcasts. My last attempt at getting in touch with Dave was there's this thing I know about as a PI called the unclaimed funds list. And all of you after this should look in your state of residence and where you grew up to see if you.
I have.
Okay, yeah. You'll find one utility bill deposit you never collected on. You just get free money in the mail. So I found all these David Lee Roth unclaimed checks, and I send it to his manager to kind of go, see, here's a good deed. Nothing back.
Really?
So, yeah, I've spoken to a lot of people who've worked with him in recent years, and they're all super accessible, but Dave is alone in the mansion a lot of the time. He's cut off.
Yeah.
Now you interviewed him before, right? In 2003?
Exactly.
After the Sam and Dave thing, but before the
03 tour, he was doing so many interviews, and that's because of Mitch Schneider, who was interviewed for the book. He handled press for Dave from I think 91, 03 or 04, and then almost came back a couple of years later.
And how did that go?
I was a fanatic. So that's the first part. I didn't know how to interview effectively. It was also like
welcome
7 a.m. or something like that. Something really ridiculous, which means it was 4 a.m. for him.
Oh, wow.
And this was also, speakerphone, landline era, not Zoom. So you don't know when somebody's done talking or somebody's going to continue talking.
Oh, that's awkward.
So I'm glad it happened, but, it's super cringy.
Oh, okay.
Must be,
I think I was 18, something like that. 18.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I really was green. I can't listen to any interview that I did more than like 5 years ago. I'll put it to you that way.
Oh, man.
You end up being like Chris Farley on Saturday Night Live. Remember when you did that? That was awesome.
Yeah, it's not far off from that. So early into the interview, I told him that Crazy from the Heat changed my life. And I don't think he was expecting that kind of level of enthusiasm. But at the end of the interview, I got him to do my outgoing voicemail message. Which
cool.
That's cool.
Nice.
It's on YouTube on my channel if you ever want to hear this bad phone interview.
So you were a fanboy pretty much is what you're saying? Or?
I was, but
Too much?
My interviewing style has really changed because back then I used to script every question in the order that I was going to ask it because I thought that's what you do. And I didn't realize until maybe 5 years ago, oh, just talk to people.
Go with
just
the
have
flow.
a couple of bullet points about what the new project is, but just talk to them.
Hey, you never know.
Yes.
You got to try different stuff. You know?
Yeah, it was bad, but in retrospect, I'm so glad it happened.
Yeah, you never look back on stuff. Everything's learning. Got you where you are. It'll get you where you're going. Right.
Totally.
So you pretty much concentrated on
Welcome, John.
mostly
Right on, John.
86 on or 85 on.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I'll
from
tell
the
you
Heat.
why, but I don't know if that's where you're leading.
No, I wanted to ask about, you've read the script of the movie, so
I want to see the damn
was it
movie.
going to be a campy sort of, I've always wondered what the movie was going to be like. Was it going to be like his videos, with those characters and so forth, or was it going to be like a Naked Gun and Eddie Murphy, Nutty Professor kind of movie, so to speak?
I think you hit the nail on the head where Naked Gun campy kind of slapstick, but at the same time breaking into song. But at the same time, the introductions to the Yankee Rose, California Girls, Going Crazy, Just a Gigolo videos, where you have these like way too long but still awesome sketches. Some of those people were supposed to be in the movie. The guy who has the unibrow painted on, the convenience store clerk in the Yankee Rose video, co-wrote the screenplay.
Uh-huh.
So Jerry Perzigian. Figuring out who he was so hard because he wants nothing to do with that era of his life at all. No, he's won Emmys for, I think, writing on Mad About You and Golden Girls.
He doesn't want people coming up to him. Oh, look.
Is that the clerk behind the counter?
Yes.
Yes.
Our lips are so close.
Nothing by stone you don't. Yeah, he doesn't want to hear that stuff.
No.
Well,
okay.
The other reason he doesn't want to, and I'll give you homework to do. Put in his last name Perzigian and Carol O'Connor.
Oh, no.
On Google, and you'll see why he doesn't want to have. Why Dave might have known him.
Himanachi? Okay.
Right.
Just if you Google it now, don't say why it is. Just go.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yes. So I believe he was supposed to be in it, and Durga McBroom. She's also in the Yankee Rose video, and ironically just acted in Dave's videos, but sang backup for Pink Floyd and Bowie and the Stones and all that. She was supposed to be in it. I think it was properly cast. Billy Sheehan told me he was wardrobe for it, and he still has his, quote, pimp coat. Sweet. And then when you read the script of the movie, it has song titles like Cut to Blank, and they're the songs off Eat 'Em and Smile. So I think in reality, Eat 'Em and Smile was just supposed to be the soundtrack to Crazy from the Heat. And I said that to Dave Jelson, and he went, yeah, there was not supposed to be a world tour. Dave wasn't supposed to be doing that kind of thing. It was just the way that we think of Cher or Bette Midler or Madonna, movie star. It was just supposed to be that.
Oh, okay. So he was planning on being an actor, but also keeping his rock and roll persona of, rock star, be a musician.
He was not quitting Van Halen for any reason. He was presumed to be quitting Van Halen, but he was not quitting Van Halen.
I think you said he accidentally quit Van Halen.
He accidentally
got kicked out of Van
Halen. Guys, check this out.
One of the biggest differences that I've always noticed, first of all, I noticed that people who grew up with Dave typically remain Dave fans. Me, that was my thing. But Dave is an entertainer. He sings, he dances, and he acts. From the get-go, in Van Halen, as a stage front man, that was his shtick.
Yeah.
It's not Sammy's shtick. Sammy sings. He's entertaining. He's not really a dancer, but he doesn't dance like Dave. They're two different animals, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
Sammy's
for
not
sure.
really an actor. He's not
No.
known for being an actor, but Dave, quite literally, when he couldn't make his movie, took it and took the thing on the road and turned it from an apple into a pear. You can call it whatever he did. That's the magic of Dave. But
Yeah,
that's really the
Dave.
difference that I've always noticed between Dave and Sammy.
Yeah, I think Dave, piggybacking on what you're saying here, Dave has a lot of vaudeville influence and a lot of Catskills kind of stuff, which Sammy does not have. Sammy's not known to be a dancer besides some of those bad stage moves where him and Michael Anthony do that kind of thing, yeah. I hate that. My wife. And
I wasn't gonna go there, Darren. You went there. I didn't go there.
But
no, he's right. He's right.
I'm glad you did, but
Dave's a dance guy, and when Dave was kind of pushing Van Halen forward in its early days, he was making sure all the songs were danceable and they were the right BPM. They were covering the right songs. They had a choreographer that they hired, probably with Dr. Nathan Roth's money, to advance Van Halen on that kind of sense. And then also Dave is known to design, or at least tell the wardrobe people how to design his stuff and what he wants the stage to look like. I don't think that that's Sammy's MO. Sammy's MO is more the singing and the playing and the music. He's not a visual guy. As great as the Can't Drive 55 video is, he's not a visual guy.
Well, you can
also, and piggybacking off what you just said, that's the beauty of the early days of Van Halen. They were very, and you mentioned it in your book. They were very Black Sabbath-like in the early days. They stood there. They didn't move. They were just there. There was no movement. And that was the main thing that Dave changed and brought to that band, first and foremost.
Yeah.
He brought Red Ball Jet.
Yeah.
You talk about that in the book, too. You do a real good job of it, by the way.
Thank you. I would have gotten more, but I'll tell you what the obstacle was with Red Ball Jet, but go ahead.
Well, it's interesting because you're talking about an elusive band. We're talking about the 70s, Hollywood. I'm old. I'm 62, and I didn't hit L.A. Hollywood until the middle of 80. So you're talking about lore beyond lore.
Yeah, and so with Red Ball Jet, I wanted to get the Terry Kilgore side of the whole equation. And so I Facebook friend requested him, and he added me back, and I said, I want to do an interview with you, and he said, sure. And then I was following up, and then he had some kind of a health problem. I think he might have had a heart attack or something like that, but it wasn't that serious. And he comes out of the hospital, and I say, hey, hope you're well. Can we tape that interview? And he lashes out at me, and it was something like Greg Renoff never sent him a copy of his book, so he's not doing any more interviews for books ever again.
Whoa.
Oh, my goodness.
I don't know. Everyone loves Greg Renoff. Greg should be on the Van Halen payroll for being Van Halen's official historian. He's that
That's
great.
right. That's exactly right.
But because he did not send Terry a book, I do not have Red Ball Jet.
No.
Wow, shut down.
Man.
Yeah, but then in reality, think about it. What does Terry Kilgore actually know? Because he was in and out really quickly 2 or 3 times out of Dave's band.
He knows a lot because he was in and out of the band 3 times.
Yeah, I don't know if he slept through rehearsal. I don't know what it is. Now, I love his playing, but he played on my least favorite Dave album by a landslide. Are you guys your Filthy Little Mouth fans?
No.
I like it. I liked it. It's like a child when it came out. You're not as good at tennis as your brother is. Type of a thing. But no, by comparison, no.
It's a bad album. No one would like that album if it didn't have the name David Lee Roth on it.
Right. Did they have like one good song? Maybe? I think it was
She's
one.
My Machine's fantastic.
Yes, I like that one. I like that one.
Big Train is awesome.
Big Train's a good song. It was a sign of the times, though.
Sure.
He needed a change or a break at that point.
One break coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, it was better than strumming with the devil.
Strumming with the devil, I'll give you. It's not very easy to listen to.
No.
But my theory is that was a I'm going to do a favor for my sister project, and that's what that was.
Ah, nice.
Aha.
Yeah.
This
book, everything is in here. The Roth show, even Russ is in this book.
Yeah.
Oh, Russ, great dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of his corporations are still named after, or the things are registered to Russ World LLC.
Wow.
But here is something that somebody told me off the record after I finished the book. Okay. I asked, wait, Russ was around in that era? And they were like, yeah. And I said, and Russ was around in that era? They go, yeah. And I go, how did a dog live that long? And they said, there was multiple Russes.
Oh.
Have you ever heard that before?
That's odd.
No. That's great. That's awesome.
That person,
multiple Russes.
That person, everything they've told me was 100% correct.
Wow.
They remember everything. There's no chemical problems with this person. And I just couldn't believe that there was multiple Russes, but I'm gonna. That's a great story.
Russ the first, Russ the second,
Russ too.
Well,
Lucy.
Parents do it with goldfish, so I guess
Yeah.
you gotta have your favorite. But he kept calling him Russ. It wasn't like Russ 2 or Russ 3.
Like George Foreman's kids, they're all named George.
Right.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
George did get punched a lot, so I understand that part. But yeah. But I did go ahead. Tony.
Let me say this, B, though.
Yeah, man.
This book, though, there are, for you Van Halen kids, I am here to tell you that there is stuff in this book that you did not know. I promise
Guaranteed.
you. Promise you some trippy stuff that you are going to dig. If you love Dave, you've got to get this book.
Yeah,
you've got to get this book.
Thank you.
I've got a question for you, Darren. Do you plan on doing any book signings?
In my town, Long Beach, Long Island, New York, I'm going to be doing something with the library there.
I thought I heard something about that.
Yes, that's going to be happening. I'm trying to get Scott Yeager to come out to that.
Is he going to be a bodyguard?
He's that guy.
He's jacked.
I would not fight him, and some of his stuff has motorcycle logos on it, so you really would not want to fight Scott.
No.
But he turns out his kids live in my town, and I didn't know this until he started wearing these shirts. My town, Long Beach, on Long Island, New York. It's the Van Halen logo stylized to say Long Beach, and I went, "Wait, what?
Yep,
that guy's here." And I invited him, and sent him a book, and he said, "I wouldn't miss it for the world." And I don't know if that means he's coming, because who knows what's going to happen.
He'll be there.
I hope he's there, but if he's not there, I'm open to traveling and doing events and keeping this long term, and never say never on another Van Halen book.
Awesome.
Yeah, hope there is another one. You really did a fantastic job. I can't say enough. I'm a huge Dave fan. There is such good stuff in this. There's no stone unturned. This goes from his early youth all the way to now. Every era of his music, his career, all the players, all the characters, everyone is there. And insight beyond that. It's a wonderful book. Thank you for it. And so everybody go get to the Van Halen store your next time you go there. I know you go there sometimes. I know you do. It's all right. It's okay. But
you just said that
there's people in this chat who live at the Van Halen store.
Yeah, I know.
The way that you just
and we know who you are.
Tony, the way that you just did that when you were talking about the imaginary people, that's kind of like in every show when Dave's imaginary hitting on the woman in the fifth row.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I see the way that you're looking, girl. And then he starts using all the pickup lines. You kind of did that right there.
There you go.
Yeah, you were talking to imaginary readers.
Channeling Dave. Yes. I do kind of wish, though. I know you brought up about Lukather. You know, when he's like, Eddie, should I do it? You know, yeah, but just kind of suck at it. I kind of wish he did it though. You know, but yeah, it was. I mean, I'm a huge John 5 fan, so you know, and I love the different guitars in the DLR band. And, you know, 5 is great. You know,
everyone loves John 5, and you look at his credits. At this point in time, David Lee Roth is probably like that 8th name in the parentheses because that guy's credits also include Lynyrd Skynyrd and Ricky Martin and Motley Crue. Yeah, and he himself has had 2 or 3 major label record deals in his own right. In other words, you know, John 5 is a 30-year overnight success story.
He's fantastic.
That's a great way of putting it. I like that.
And he's a great guy. And you know, you obviously interviewed him, so just talk. And I did a meet and greet because he played the Chance a couple times. And,
nice.
I build cigar box guitars and other stuff as a hobby, and I built him a cigar box guitar the first time he came through. Second time he came through, I actually built him a shovel guitar, painted it gold, put a kill switch in it, and he played it, and then he took it back to his trailer, and he did an Instagram video on it, and I was like, just before the show, I was like, "Are you kidding?" You know, and I was like floored. I was so excited.
What a nice guy.
I keep telling that story. I got to stop telling that story, but I can't.
No, that was my it. Thumbs up to that. I see a question that's at me from Chris of the Riff. Do you mind me answering that?
Go for it. Go for
it. I see Monique shouting out Long Beach, and that's great. But Chris said, "Can you ask Darren about Joe Holmes? Did he interview him?" So I tried to track down Joe Holmes. I found a couple of email addresses that I believed were him, and I found a phone number that I believe was him and texted him. No response. So I asked around to some people. He predates the period of Dave where everyone was under non-disclosures, but I hear that he's shy and he doesn't love that era of his life so much. And when you think about it, he hasn't really talked about his time with Ozzy either, because he kind of had Dave and Ozzy back to back, then kind of went into hiding. Then I think he was taking care of a sick father or something like that. Then he comes back out of nowhere with Farmicos and does like 3 interviews, and then he hides again.
Whoa!
Did he go to the Vito? Who's the guy from White Line? Vito Bratta. Did he go to the Vito Bratta School of Communication? Possibly.
Maybe.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of John 5, why didn't they? I mean, we heard so much about him and Dave making all this music and everything. They never put out an album, and all of a sudden, things are getting released. But I don't understand why.
I'd love to see a John 5 Dave album. Yeah,
that would have been epic. I think if they put out an album of that music that they made together.
So I've heard from people who know stuff. In other words, this isn't a guy who once overheard a security guard talking to somebody on a radio. And like these are people who are actually around. And I've heard a few different things about the John 5 album. Okay, the first thing is if you look at the Dave interviews, and stop me if this gets too long-winded or not interesting. Okay, that's a promise. I'll get the raise of the hand.
That's possible, but okay.
Okay.
So, disclaimer.
So the timeline is all super messed up with the John 5 album, where nobody who will go on the record will admit to when the sessions were. That's the first part. So there's some people that swear it was 2007, other people 2009, other people 2011, other people 2013. Other people say, oh, it was all the time and on and off and on and off. So that's the first thing. Second thing is there's this Dave interview that he did with USA Today where he says that the album was written as a jukebox musical because he'd just seen Book of Mormon on Broadway, which makes no sense because Book of Mormon's not a jukebox musical.
Right.
You go, is he just naming stuff he's heard of again? Because Dave has this habit in interviews where he names things in threes. He'll be like, I don't care if you're the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, or Cardi B. Like, he always names the third thing to make you go like, oh, he knows what's going on.
Yeah,
He's heard it. I don't care if you work at Exxon, Walmart, or WeSpace. You go like, oh, he knows WeSpace. Okay, so he started naming that as a jukebox musical, and you're like, no, that's not true. Then he said in another interview, we gave these songs to the Van Halens, and they turned them down. And then what I heard from somebody who's actually around was that Dave was doing that album with John 5 as a counterattack in case the Van Halen reunion album blew up. In other words, he didn't want to get screwed over by the Van Halens again.
Backup plan.
Yes. And I didn't put that in the book. That's just something that was told to me by somebody, which I can't prove other than hearsay.
Allegedly.
The person who was around.
Allegedly. Yeah.
But one more thing to add on to that, somebody else who was around, who was in Dave's house, I said, is the John 5 album done? And he said, there is no album. There's a bunch of rough mixes in different states.
It's a bunch of music I hear, though. A lot of music.
I don't think there's that much more. I think most of it's come out. Now, one more thing to add to that is Greg Bissonette is under a non-disclosure. Now, he played on those John 5 sessions. The original David Lee Roth band was not under a non-disclosure. So I think by coming back, he was. And we know that Brett Tuggle played on some of those sessions. Unfortunately, we lost him, but he never talked about it. So I think that John 5 actually didn't know what was coming out, when it was coming out, and he just said what he thought, and then we just reported it over and over and over and over again as fact.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you for that. That's great.
Interesting.
Sorry.
Great.
I got to
find
that stuff.
So there is no John 5 album. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, man.
But we've heard a little. We've heard a little bit. So that's
we heard wind about some Dave music that Dave had stashed away.
Oh, there's a lot of that. He's never stopped making music, or at least until a couple of years ago, he never stopped making music. There's supposedly hundreds of unreleased songs. Now, is it a lot of covers and weird vocal loops? Possibly.
Probably.
But he has more unreleased songs than he has released songs. He doesn't have a big discography.
Let me ask you this one last before we're going to cruise off into trivia. What is your take of all of his internet goings on post-retirement? What do you think about the Roth show and everything he does on YouTube and all?
I'm annoyed, entertained, alternately annoyed, entertained, pleased, and angry, depending on what goes on. Because I'm one of those people, me and my wife flew out to Vegas for the shows that didn't happen. And we were there, and we only found out that the first show was canceled a few hours before. And then the second night, we thought it was going to happen, and we only found out a couple hours before. And he never really apologized to the fan base. He said, along the lines like, I'm done, unless it's a benefit show or just some nonsense or drivel. And since then, he's played at least 3 shows that we know of, 2 of them in the same hotel as where he canceled his retirement shows as private corporate gigs.
Yeah.
Oh.
So there's no communication. Now, if he publicly said, here's the deal, guys, sorry about the residency stuff, I'll make it up to you, more music to come, thank you for the many years of support, I would have forgiven it a bit. But we never got that as fans. We never got sorry for that, and we never got clarification on the retirement stuff. Because again, he's done a few private gigs. He's doing the artwork stuff. He's released the John 5 stuff. He released the Van Halen re-records. He's not retired, and those were not his last shows. What are we supposed to think?
I know. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
All right, let's
Let's
get back to, how about that view right there?
I like it.
We'll dance with this, and all right, so we're going to play what we call around here, Darren, Nearly Impossible Van Halen Trivia.
Okay.
Usually we play this down. And then
Yeah,
people know.
we weren't supposed to play that tonight because that's noises from another.
That's the Makita drill.
That's
From another
I know,
singer.
I know, but that's what we used for the trivia, the Impossible Van Halen.
Yeah.
How'd you say?
My
it,
bad.
Jeff? Dribblings from another sibling.
Oh my, yeah, the sibling from another.
Chirones
yes.
for the bones, or
Oh wow!
All right. So how this works? We're going to ask you a rather difficult Van Halen question in the chat, and you're going to answer over in the chat. First correct answer that we see tonight is going to score a David Lee Roth backstage pass from the Eat 'em and Smile tour. You can stick it on off, peel it off, and stick it on right there. Yeah, I said it. I don't say it every week, but I'm saying it tonight.
Uh-oh.
And we are
Wear it
talking
proud.
about this great book,
Yes.
Thank you.
DLR book, How David Lee Roth Changed the World. And he, in fact, did. He did.
Weird.
You can get this book at the VanHalenStore.com. Go over there. It'll get here quick. It'll get there quick. It will.
You're not giving that away, are you?
No, I'm not
Oh,
giving
okay.
that. I'm giving the password.
Just checking. Just checking.
Are you giving
Hey.
away Emily Radikowski per John?
Oh, well, he always says that.
That's his answer for every question we put.
Every
out there,
question.
Do you think Emily Radikowski knows who Van Halen is? Real question.
Yeah.
I believe she
Absolutely.
Probably.
Yeah.
Sure.
Does. I believe
I
she
don't.
does.
I don't. After that Billie
If for
Eilish,
nothing, but if for nothing else, because she goes to Knicks games and Ranger games, and they play that stuff there.
Aha.
You know, like the Oregon guy will play one of the. I don't know if it was the Islanders or the Rangers, but they played because it was the 40th anniversary of 1984. He was playing Jump. You know, I think she may know, but I don't know.
ever since I learned Billie Eilish didn't know who Van Halen was, I just don't think anyone under a certain age knows who or what
maybe.
Van Halen is.
You could be right. You could be right, but you know, if they get this book, they'll know. They go buy the book, then start listening to Van Halen, and then
Thanks, Brendan.
no problem. Then you'll come back here every week, and you know, you'll make us happy, right? Okay.
And you will, everyone will enjoy this
Oh
book.
hell yes!
I promise you,
Most definitely.
you will. There is no David Lee Roth book in the world, and this covers everything. Everything, Dave. It's all Dave. The only other book that you could possibly compare it to is Crazy from the Heat.
Right.
Which only has like 5 pages from 1985 to 1988, but he calls it the Yankee Rose Band, and that was it. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, Tony, I'm going to sweeten the pot. I'm going to throw this in.
Okay.
Little David Lee Roth trading card. How's that?
A trading card. All right. Yeah.
the rock cards, nice.
That's
Rock
cool,
cards.
man.
Remember those? Yeah.
That's way cool.
Nice. So you get a
Right on.
David Lee Roth trading card and a David Lee Roth backstage pass. Not a bad deal. If you are the winner, there's a trivia winner's email down below. Email me your address. I'll mail that out in the morning. I
And
will.
none of this stuff.
Yeah.
Put that away.
All right. So we write these questions
I'll be right back.
hard. Sometimes they get them quickly. Sometimes it takes them a while. I have to write them harder and harder, Darren, every week because these, Van Halen kids, they are keen. They know their Van Halen. They
For sure.
know their Van Halen.
Sure.
So
They
I
are.
try to throw them curveballs and hard sliders, and it's difficult,
Tony's the king of Van Halen questions. You'll
I
see.
believe it.
He absolutely is. Week after week after week, he does this.
Yep.
And it gets harder and harder and harder, and week after week after week too.
Well, then guys like Darren write books and gives him more info and more ammunition. That's the way it works.
That's right.
People of Van Halen life. That's how we look at it.
If you want to have your master challenge, go to the section about the revolving door musicians of the Vegas residency, and you go name the 2 guitarists who were fired before the 2020 shows happened in Vegas. You can really get some mileage out of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah. It is. It is good. A bunch of stuff in there that we didn't know,
Mm-hmm.
and it covers every era of his career, though. But yeah, even all the way to the end, you're still finding nuggets.
I see that chat comment from Keith. Wow, that is a small world. Talking about the state streets of Long Beach.
Wow.
I guess between him, Scott Yeager, all these people are in Long Beach or have Long Beach ties weirdly. This one town of 40,000 people. But go ahead, Tony. I cut you off there.
Yeah, no.
You're great.
All right, everybody, you ready to type? We're going there. Nearly Impossible Van Halen Trivia, Tuesday, January 16th. Playing for that David Lee Roth pass. Good luck. The first correct answer that we see over there, Brendan will serve as the judge and executioner. And yeah. So I tried to write it hard this week. We'll talk more about that after the question, but let's get into it. Good luck. Get ready to type. Here we go. Cafe Wall was opened in 1959 by David Lee Roth's Uncle Manny Roth at 115 McDougal Street, New York City. What is Uncle Manny's full name? I need the first, middle, and last. Bring it.
You're going to see some funny answers that people don't know. Fran
Drescher.
Jerry Seinfeld.
Mike Portnoy from Long Beach. You know it, Keith.
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
No, John. It's not.
No, John.
Kowski, for crying out loud. And we said 3 names. You guys have given us 2. Oh. And there it is.
Ryan got
Mr. Ryan OU812 has it.
Right on.
Excellent, Ryan. You
Wow,
rock.
that was quick.
Randy Price right behind him.
Right on.
Fred Garth.
Absolutely.
Fred Garwood,
Right.
male prostitute. Yep.
Wow.
Randy Price right in there behind him, too.
Yep, he was.
Right
Wow.
on, Randy.
All right.
Yeah, I'm
Nice.
walking over here. Yep.
All right. So
Right on,
Ryan
Fred.
OU812 is our winner for tonight. Ryan has a very cool YouTube channel, Darren.
Yeah.
They play live music, live guitars over there. Ryan has reached a Van Halen guitar tone that I think is almost unmatched on
Yeah, it's hard to
YouTube
match
for these
that.
YouTubers. It is sweet, and so I
Okay.
recommend you go check him out. They do live streams on Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern and Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern, and it is always a treat. You'll dig them. And Ryan OU812 is our winner for tonight.
All
All
right.
right.
Nice.
And that, yeah, how fitting,
Congrats, buddy.
dude. Awesome.
Yeah, Ryan's
Yeah.
on there. John Deshane's on there. R2, R3, Locking Nuts
Yeah.
on there, and another guy.
These guys
Trev.
right here are
So-
on his crew over
And
there.
they all play amazing, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, you'll dig it, Darren.
I'm interested.
And this
Yeah.
guy goes on every once in a while too.
Yeah.
They're nice enough to let me come on
Charles
there and play with them once in a
shows up
while.
over
Those
there.
guys
They
are
jam,
awesome.
Yeah,
Those
but
guys
the
are
guitar
awesome.
tone, Darren, is unmatched. Yeah, It's unmatched. It's sweet to the ears.
So it's better sounding than Joe Satriani's on this.
Gill, as far as to hear it here on YouTube live, that he achieves a heck of a tone.
I think Ryan should be Joe's guitar tech.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this. Let me throw you guys off for who's going to the Van Hagar tour of this summer and who's so Brendan, you're skipping it due to geography or you're not interested?
I don't have the cash to be where I want to be in there, but and it's probably going to be during one of my vacations. So, but yeah, and I don't know. I won't give any more than that, but it's going to be a great show, and I'm glad all these guys are going to see it. But yeah, it's not in my future for concerts.
You going, Darren?
The closest show, they skipped Jones Beach here on Long Island, so you have to go to PNC, Jersey. So then you think, is this worth 2.5 hours of travel each way, dealing with all that kind of stuff? You know, the wife and I saw Hagar in Vegas 2-ish years ago, and that's the show that I think he's doing, where it's, 2 or 3 mantra songs, 4 or 5 solo things, 5 or 6 Van Halen things, 1 Chicken Foot. Michael Anthony sings 1 or 2 songs, a guest appearance. I think we already saw it, just without Joe Satriani. Am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely correct. However, getting to see this particular lineup at this particular point in time is priceless to a Van Halen.
It's going to be
so
great.
You need to rethink about the 2.5 hour drive. Plus, there is a really high propensity. Yeah, I use that word.
Whoa.
For guests to show up.
Yeah,
and you might get lucky enough to see someone really special show up for a couple of songs that you will kick yourself in the ass for if you're not there.
Is he going to do that move, that thing?
Probably.
You're going to see that, but
yeah.
Well, something tells me with
76-year-old
this
dance
tour,
move.
Though, Darren, the way that he spent it, I do think that there's going to be guests along the way,
and more Van Halen.
Who, he's got a lot of friends. A lot of folks show up down there in October. So I would imagine that along the way, everybody, all his friends are going to come out and want to pay tribute.
Can I be the pessimist that screws up your thinking with the guests?
Yes.
Sure.
Because I don't know if there's already enough pessimism going around, and you hit your quota. So when the wife and I saw him in Vegas, his special guest was Trombone Shorty, and Trombone Shorty is great, but I do not want to see Trombone Shorty play Superstition with Sammy Hagar singing Superstition.
Oh no,
that was like chocolate and cheese, or like chocolate and chalk. It made no sense. So I'm wondering if Sammy Hagar's checklist for people, he's gonna go Indianapolis. Who do I know? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Kenny Aronoff, and you go, he's just gonna be kind of stuck on options. Jacksonville. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Stapp, and you go, oh. In other words, I don't think every show it's going to be Steve Vai. Some shows you're going to get, ladies and gentlemen, Bobby Dahl from Poison, and you go, oh, great.
Yeah.
I expect to see Nuno or maybe Gary Sharon up here. So.
Yeah, for sure. Gary Sharon will be on this tour, for sure.
Yeah.
The closest one to me is going to be Spanish.
We all just hope, Darren, that it ends up being there hadn't been any tribute and all this talking back and forth. It's never going to happen, but this could very well be the closest thing to it. And all these players, all our heroes, they are not getting younger.
Right.
So I do wish that this would end up being something bigger by July than it is now on paper. I mean, I hope it has lots of guests and it's not just another Sam and the Circle tour.
Or Chicken Foot with Satriani.
So, Tony, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ricky Rocket, will you be happy or will you feel cheated?
Well,
what do you have against Poison, Darren? Come on now, brother.
Whoever's in town, wherever they are, I would, to come out and I would think these guys. And speaking of Van Halen, it's not going to be a bunch of people, but I would say a lot of the characters that show up down every October, you might, tell, and I'd love to see
Tommy Lee,
all these people.
Kenny Chesney, Toby Keith, the country guys,
DeVille,
maybe Wolfgang. He might, he's been very chummy lately with Michael. It's,
you never know.
I just want to say, if it happens, me and Tony are going to lose our flipping minds. Okay,
yeah.
And we're really rolling the dice on it. I'm very lucky at this shit, and so is he. I think the world's gonna give us something special.
You're gonna see something good.
Let me ask you this, Darren. Where did the DLR podcast come from? How'd that happen?
My second book, which is called Great Advice from Professional Wrestling, I was doing the interviews just like this, and I was on Steve Roth's podcast. And I think I was, joking about his last name and knowing that he's a Van Halen guy because Steve works in the book publishing industry, and I knew about his background. And I think we jokingly said, hey, we should start our own Roth show. And we actually did, because I think everyone started a podcast during the pandemic. And then after 2 episodes went, 7 people are listening? Nah. And in our case, like Steve and I didn't realize we're growing and growing and growing. Like our November episode, I think was the most listened to episode. I think the more weird Dave gets, the better our traffic gets without even trying.
Yes.
And Steve and I are just buddies over Roth. Cool. That's it.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The most unique podcast out of podcasting. There's nothing more unique than a David Lee Roth podcast. If you blink, you will miss something, and you never know what direction it's going to go. He's one of a kind.
Yeah, that is his best and worst trait at the same time.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
And it's such. David Lee Roth makes me sad in that he's such a high intellect person, such a motivated person who goes, I want to do this, and he does that. And then you look at people who are half as talented and half as intelligent of what they accomplished in their careers, and they did multitudes better because they focused on career stuff. So I just look at different people that are classic rock peers of Dave and go like, Dave should have had that career. I was taking some swipes at Poison. And I love Poison. I totally love Poison. I know a lot about Poison. I've interviewed 3 members of Poison, 4 if you count Richie Kotzen. Okay. That said, I think Bret Michaels is maybe the second least talented frontman in the history of bands that have sold a billion albums. He has no vocal range, but he's Captain Charisma. And his work ethic is amazing. And you think of all the entrepreneurial success that he's had from The Apprentice and Petco and Diet Snapple and all these headlining tours. That's a man who's overcome being an 80s guy. And Poison had a lot fewer hits than Van Halen or Dave. Yet Bret Michaels is like 10 times more recognizable and beloved than David Lee Roth. And you got to remember, Poison opened for Roth on the Skyscraper tour.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
That's the tour that helped break them into an arena band. So you look at all that and you go, Dave should have the career that Bret Michaels had ×2. And he doesn't. Why? Bad management. It's not the songs, it's bad management.
Good point.
I hate to do this to everybody, but I have to go because I got to get up early and work.
I feel your pain, my brother.
I know. And I usually get up at 5:30 anyway. I have to get up even earlier. So,
Pleasure to meet you, man.
It was fantastic to meet you, Darren, and I'm so glad that this happened.
Yes, sir. Keep in touch.
Oh, most definitely. So thank you, Tony, for letting me be on again tonight. So I know.
Good to see you, B.
All right, brother.
Always great
Right
to see
on,
you
Brendan.
guys. And
You rock, brother.
Yeah, I will see you next time.
See
you,
you,
brother.
brother.
And hopefully we see another Dave book or another Van Halen book. You never know. I never say never. I know you got a lot of stuff in there still, so but good luck, man, and great book. It's fantastic. Everybody go get it.
Thanks, Ian, again.
All right, man. Take care.
Right on,
Thanks, Brendan.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.
See you, B. All right.
Oh, and Monique asked, where can we listen to your podcast? Apple, Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, wherever. I don't go live like you guys do. Kudos to you guys on knowing how to run StreamYard.
We've got your
Those
link
guys.
down in the description.
Yeah.
You can find him there. But this has been awesome, and thank you for the book. This has been such a good read. I just got done late this afternoon. You start. This is one of these books where you start and you can't stop. Like, wait a second. You're walking every like
It doesn't lose steam.
Thank you.
No,
Thank you very
right.
much.
Chapter to chapter, this book is literally just like a
it
roller
takes
coaster
you
ride.
on his life. This book could very well serve, in my opinion, and I love Dave, is his life story. This is
Like an
this
autobiography.
is somebody that wrote a authorized autobiography couldn't have done it effing any better.
There's honestly, there's God, I'm going to say it, man. There's more history in this book about Dave than anything that Mr. Renoff has done to date, quite literally. And I'm not taking away from Mr. Renoff. Greg's awesome, and
He's a better writer than me.
of all of this.
Greg's a more likable guy, too.
Well,
Oh, come on.
okay, I'm not going to argue with you on that, but I will say this, that this book has got so much information about David Lee Roth in it that it is quite literally going to go down 10 years from now as Renoff's book has to this point. I'm calling it right now. It's the truth.
Thank you. I mean, if all goes according to plan, in a couple of years, I'll revise the book, not as a cash grab, but more to catch up some of the mysteries that I solved in the time since then, to catch up on did he retire, did he not retire, what did he do in the past couple of years. As I get more interviews, I didn't put in interviews that I did with Ice-T and Chris Jericho and different people around him after I turned in the manuscript. I didn't put in my Sammy Hagar quotes from when I did a quick interview with him. So I think that there's more meat on the bone there. And then I might find out more about different projects that he started and stopped. I'll put it to you that way.
Okay.
More
Plus,
in the archives.
Dave is still making history day after day, so you've still got that too.
You will. Every Van Halen fan, David Lee Roth fan, you have to have this book. There is history in this book.
Absolutely.
Stuff from Japan that did you know Dave auditioned for roles in Japan while he was there, that he got turned down and never told anybody. We don't know about that until now. I didn't.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff in this book. So much stuff.
I was blessed that all these people gave me their time and were willing to tell their stories. And I still think there's a lot more stories to be told over time. But I had a deadline and I had a word limit and I had to honor them.
Oh,
sure.
So, Darren, DLR band, DLR cast, DLR book. What about DLR screenplay?
A whole podcast just about Crazy from the Heat?
Well, maybe you should write a movie. Maybe not just Crazy from the Heat, but just the DLR movie.
I've thought about that kind of stuff, but at the same time, Van Halen blocks licenses on just about everything. There's so many missions. So you would have to have a whole. I love the sound-alike that you guys have in the intro of your show. Unless there were a whole sound-alike soundtrack and look-alike people, and you never say it's about David Lee Roth. The person's name is Dave Diamond, and Anthony Michael. If you do that, it moves a lot.
Yeah.
Anthony Michael Hall.
Right on. Yeah. So everybody go order your copy of this. You need to have this book. You Van Halen fans, this it. You got to have this book. If you love Dave, and even you Sammy Hagar fans, I want you to buy this book so you'll understand Dave.
Where he's coming from.
I want you to understand Dave more. I do. I know you like Sammy. I like Sammy too.
I love all the special guests that he's going to have on this tour too.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Neil.
What's your take on Dave responding to Sammy after he announced the tour?
Yeah.
Dave trolled him. Dave knew
He
that Sammy is one of those kinds of people that uses the word brother a lot in sentences.
Mm-hmm.
Like, anything you want, brother. Dad, and let's do lunch, man. And you go, okay, when? Anytime. And then
everybody come over.
Yeah, and you go, there's no sincerity to that whole thing. So I think that Sammy was doing that. Oh, anytime, bro, anytime. And Dave went, okay, I'll show him.
I'll call his bluff.
Yeah, because if you look through the history of the Sammy versus Dave thing, Sammy has thrown all the shots at Dave, and Dave never once talked about the bad time he had on the Sam and Dave tour.
Exactly.
When has Dave ever commented about hating that tour?
That tour?
Yeah. Who too?
My daughter bought this for me for Christmas ago, but on the label it says Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 1987, which I'm like, what? But God bless her. God bless her.
Beach Boys were, I think, 87. Did you ever see that Mike Love speech?
See, it says 1987.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I saw him when he had those hair extensions and all that. It was fun.
I like that tour. I do like that era of Dave a lot, but I think that Dave masterfully trolled Sammy and looked like a good guy at the end of the day of that whole thing, because Sammy went on a rant against Dave on Instagram, which was not a good look for Sammy. And Sammy usually gets away with all these things, but Dave doesn't. It's kind of weird. Sammy always gets a pass because he's anything you want, brother. That kind of a thing.
He's the good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's funny.
So I want to ask you this. When Dave left Van Halen,
mm-hmm.
where do you think his mind was? Because it seems like that everybody in the world looks to what the Van Halens had to say about that time period, and getting rid of a singer and getting a new singer, and the old singer wanted to be a movie star and this and that. But Dave, it didn't go down like that, and there's two sides. But it seems like the whole world hears the Sammy Hagar side of that. Where do you think Dave's mind was?
He's a competitive individual. We know that, besides the Russ World LLC, there was another one of the corporations is Laugh to Win. He's a big revenge guy that, he is full of anger despite that smile. Henry Rollins said that Dave is the angriest person that he's ever met. So everything that Dave does is kind of I want to be the best at it, and I'm going to do it my way, and that's that. So for sure he's gone, oh, I'm going to bury those brothers those Van Halen brothers, they're going to be number 2 next to me. And I think that they were kind of neck and neck at 5150 versus Eat 'em and Smile. Arguably, OU 812 and Skyscraper, arguably, they were close. And then Dave was like 80 steps behind with A Little Ain't Enough versus where Van Halen was. And then, after that, Dave might have been the cool guy from afar, but he wasn't in the same league.
But I don't think that when A Little Ain't Enough came out, I think it was a lot of the history of Dave and his career after Van Halen, plus a lot of musical landscape with what was happening at the time.
Yeah.
As Steve Vai's gone too. Anything, all these. He's not Ozzy. It's going to be less than it was with Eat 'em and Smile and Skyscraper. It's inevitable.
For sure. But Keith pointed out in a comment right there about seeing Dave at Trade Winds in the Jersey Shore area part of Jersey. Dave was down to clubs, and it started in 94 when he was doing the Your Filthy Little Mouth tour. He played in Long Beach, this town, at a beach club. He was not playing the A-list rooms. Van Halen was still in arenas. So
yeah,
Van Halen's new video would be on MTV. Dave's video would be on VH1 at best.
Yeah, they were able to survive grunge.
Yeah, Van Halen,
and still be, still sell out arenas.
Yeah,
unfortunately, Dave
and Our Lady Peace and Collective Soul and cool bands opening for them, bands that had radio hits.
Alice in Chains.
And Dave was touring with Stuttering John Melendez opening for him in clubs.
Oh shit!
So a little bit of a break there.
That's sad.
Alice in Chains, Collective Soul, arenas, Stuttering John, and beach towns.
Yeah. That's unfortunate, Yeah. I feel bad for him.
For Dave?
Yeah. And then the radio thing didn't work out, and
I don't feel bad because he ultimately got paid very handsomely for the radio thing because he sued.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And that he was doing that as just something to do while he was doing the EMT thing and waiting for Van Halen to take him back. Because a lot of smart people that I talk with say that Dave's run from 2001 to 2005 was just an audition to come back to Van Halen to show, hey, I can do this. I'm ready.
Oh, okay.
And so while he was doing that and making millions of dollars hosting morning radio, while free to do his EMT stuff and some corporate gigs, that was fine because that rebuilt his finances because he wasn't making very much in the 90s.
That was syndicated, right?
I think it was 11 markets, 12 markets. They didn't get the full Howard Stern thing. It's like they got a third of the Howard Stern.
How do you replace Stern, though? God, man.
You don't.
He's almost destined to fail on that,
For sure. They were expecting Howard-like numbers overnight just because the guy sold all these records and it had a big PR blitz. But the reality is, replacing Stern, and Stern is taking his audience with him to the new place.
Yeah.
So where are all these new people?
Who's your audience? Yeah, right.
Yeah. I mean, anyone with a brain would know that. And the people who were giving Dave all the flack, like Tom Chiazzano, were all the people who were giving Howard the flack. There's a reason why Howard left Infinity for Sirius, because he was tired of being stunted. And the kind of show that Dave wanted to do, they weren't letting him do. So, Dave be Davin, to sound like a young person right there. He's doing what Dave does.
Right. Huh.
Yeah.
And Monique, Stern guy, yes, until 2010, 2011. Once Artie kind of fell off the deep end, that's you can't be a Stern guy. The current Stern is basically Imus at this point.
Isn't that interesting? That's a really good analogy, Darren. That's
well, Howard Stern was not 70 years old when he came on the air. He was, much younger.
Well, it's interesting. You were talking about David Lee Roth's relationship with Howard. They go back.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to the beginning.
Yeah.
So they have a huge history together, and I think that's one of the reasons that Dave is so comfortable with Howard.
And he nearly got a Van Halen reunion track on the Private Parts soundtrack. Supposedly, Howard asked for it, and Eddie's people said, "Okay, $1 million," that kind of a thing. And then Dave just wrote a song and went, "Here's a song for the soundtrack," and Howard turned it down, a song called Private Parts. But Howard got some of the best interviews of Dave anytime. Sometimes when Dave had news to break, he immediately went on Howard. And, supposedly Howard lost weight through Dave's sister being a nutritionist. So it's a lot deeper than we kind of realized.
Wow.
Nice.
Good for him.
Huh. Wait, Monique said she casted a segment for Artie on Howard's show. Wow. I was in Artie's apartment like 7 or 8 years ago, and he wasn't in a good place, but what a nice guy. I miss Artie Lang. I hope he comes back.
Yeah, me too.
Agreed. Very cool.
All righty. Okay, so let me see where we are. Ed, you got anything else for Darren? You, Charles?
No, I think
no. Go ahead, Ed. You go ahead, brother.
No, I think Darren's. I had a lot of notes here, and I had all kinds of stuff going on here, and I think you've pretty much answered most of them, every one of them actually. I love your podcasts, and I subscribed, and it's kind of funny, being in this community that we are, that I never really heard of you or your podcast or any of this until recently, and I'm glad I did.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There's this show. There's HALENVILLE. There's us. There's Dave and Dave Unchained.
Yep.
There's And the Podcast Will Rock. There's the Bogus Oda Show, which is basically the Sammy Hagar version of what we do on the DLR cast.
Yeah.
Then
our friends in Australia, the 5150.
Yes.
Show.
Yeah. That's when I only discovered a week or two ago.
Yep.
And it's
and then you have Ryan's show that we just talked about, where they play guitar and everything, and it's mostly Van Halen stuff. And
during the pandemic, there was all those Sunset Sound ones that were very Van Halen centric. There's the Van Halen Stories one.
Yep. Jeff Goebel. Yep. Has. There's also the Under the Bus Network, which has Caleb from Nerd Halen on it.
Oh, and, I didn't know about that one.
They're a fun group. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're on Wednesdays.
I knew that Hal Sparks was in that group, but I've never seen Nerd Halen. Hoping to see them.
Yep. Caleb is an amazing guitarist. Yep.
So there's a community of us, and some of us. Oh yeah, and Eric, who writes a lot of the articles for Van Halen News Desk, his show Booked on Rock, where he interviews a lot of rock authors. I don't think people realize that's the guy who writes most of the stories on Van Halen News Desk. There's a community of us, and some of us are very nice, and some of the people in this are not very nice, and they want to be thought of as the only Van Halen. They have to get the exclusive interview, and they shun all the others. My goal is to be cool with everybody in this community, because Van Halen is not fan oriented. And if we don't keep the legacy alive, they're not going to.
Exactly right.
Right.
Exactly right.
Yeah. And Jay Santiago, you were totally right about Artie and Anthony. Awesome stuff. It sounds like you're a Dabbleverse person, and if you are, thumbs up.
Excellent. Yep. By the way, welcome, Jay. It's good to see you, man.
Yeah.
I just want to say that we want to thank you, first of all. This is a new book.
There's Chris Hunter.
The impact that this book is going to have on us is, well, it hasn't occurred yet. It's to come.
Yeah,
it's not going to hit everyone at the same time. But this book is unfolding It's not a single read. It's, we hold certain books in high esteem around here. This is destined to be part of that library.
Thank you.
No doubt about it. It's a unique book, and it is out of the park. The true impact of this book has not hit the community yet. It's going to take some time for everyone to absorb it because there's so much information in it.
A lot. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. That means the world.
Yeah.
I wrote this for the people who get it, not for the people who just like jump in Panama. So
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, this book really explains who David Lee Roth really is as a person. You read in his youth, and you really understand. You take us on a ride there, Darren, in his youth, and you really, I've always thought I understood Dave more than my friends did, but you really help everybody understand who the hell Diamond David Lee Roth really is, on and off the court.
And it's not an easy task because there's a lot of layers to Diamond Dave.
That guy, yeah.
I'll tell you this, without saying too much here. When I say that a lot of people haven't told their story yet, when the musicians who played with him from 2019 to the last shows, when they decide that they want to do the interviews, oh God, are you going to be alternately amused, depressed, and interested? Once they come out of hiding, and then you're gonna love what you hear.
Oh boy,
yeah.
But they're not ready, and some of the people related to Dave are just not ready. When those people, when we eventually get the Pete Angeles thing, I don't know when that's going to happen. When we eventually get the Eddie Anderson, the Matt Sensio, etc., those will be amazing. But the actual musicians on tour from the 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and the most recent band, when they're ready, it's going to be the greatest Dave stuff you've ever heard. I can't repeat stuff, maybe in the future, but wow.
Yeah.
That is one of the most optimistic openings for the future of Van Halen I've heard recently, Darren. That's
no, I'm not saying you're going to love awesome. Van Halen more. I'm just going to say you're going to laugh your ass off about what actually happened behind the scenes. You're going to go, oh, so they weren't playing chess. They weren't even playing checkers. They were just blindfolded and throwing darts, these people.
Nice.
That's great.
But it's going to be some time for that. So the bottom line is thank you guys for having me, for tolerating me.
Nice to meet you.
The legacy alive. You have a wonderful fan base. And, let's not be strangers and let's keep in touch.
Yeah,
awesome.
We are going to be keeping our eye on you, Darren. Absolutely.
Yes.
Anybody that loves Dave as much as I do, as much as we do around here, definitely the DLR cast. We will be tuning in, and thank you for doing that. We are all about it. And thank you again for this book. Thanks for being here tonight also too, Darren.
We appreciate it.
This has been such a treat.
Outstanding.
My pleasure. Back to the video games. And as David Roth said, 1-800-SEA.
Yeah.
Excellent.
All right, let's get back to here, and we'll use that view, I guess. Everybody, if you're around here on the weekend, we talk guitar picks and rock memorabilia. We're talking REM this weekend, so check it out. Saturday, 9 p.m. Eastern, me and these fellas have some rapid eye movement. Hopefully get a little more rapid eye movement.
Show me your pick.
Yeah. All right. And everyone, thanks for watching. Get this book. You need this book. You Van Halen fans, this is the David Lee Roth book. This is the only David Lee Roth book other than Crazy from the Heat. Now it's here, and it is very complete. There's stuff in here you did not know. It is his whole life, his whole career. Yes.
And how he changed the world.
You'll like it. Darren, thank you so much for that. Everybody, leave a thumbs up here on the video. Subscribe here if you're not already. We talk Van Halen here every Tuesday night. Thank you for being a Van Halen fan. God bless you for that. Any last words, Mr. Charles Greene?
Yeah, you guys, this is Halenville. Around here, it doesn't matter if you go north, south, east, or west. Every single road is going to lead you to some Van Halen. Thank you, Darren. You rock. We love you. Everyone in the chat, have a great week. Do something nice for someone for no reason whatsoever. I swear to God, you will feel better about yourself. And don't forget to rock on. Be well, guys. Love you. Bye-bye.
Amen.